Hey everyone, and welcome back to Vibrations and Manifestations. I'm Jared.
And I'm Alicia. Great to be here.
Okay, so today we're going to unpack this phrase, the path of least resistance. It's one you hear tossed around, and it can conjure up all sorts of images. Right?
Totally, like maybe someone just chilling on a beach, avoiding all responsibility.
Exactly. But what we're really diving into today is a different angle. How aligning with this flow, this path, can actually be a super powerful way to bring what you truly desire into your life.
hmm it's a fascinating contrast to the narrative we hear all the time, which is all about relentless effort, pushing through obstacles, the grind.
Right? The hustle culture.
Yeah, we're so conditioned to believe that struggle equals success. But this perspective, it suggests that maybe, just maybe, there's a more harmonious way.
So as you're listening today, maybe think about this. Could achieving your goals be less about constant battle and more about finding the current that naturally carries you forward?
Good question to hold.
Definitely. So let's get down to basics first. When we talk about resistance in this context, we're not really talking about like external roadblocks, like a tough project deadline or something. We're looking inward. What does resistance really mean from this energetic viewpoint?
Yeah, good distinction. Think of it as any internal state that creates friction with what you want to experience. Doubt, fear, that nagging feeling of I'm not good enough. Those are all classic forms of resistance.
Okay.
Even something like overthinking, where your mind is just racing in circles. That's resistance too, because it stops you from moving forward with clarity. It's kind of like trying to drive with the brakes on.
Oh, that's a great analogy. And you see these little examples popping up all day long, don't you? Like procrastination when you know you should be starting something, or that feeling of dread before a difficult conversation.
Yeah.
You're not physically stopped, but there's this internal, like, pushback.
Precisely. And Abraham Hicks puts it really well, I think. They say something like, resistance is focusing on the absence of what you want.
Ooh, let that sink in.
Right. If your mind is constantly jammed up with what's missing, with the problems, with the not yet, you're basically directing your energy towards that lack, which naturally makes it harder to attract the very thing you actually desire.
It's like, when you're trying to learn something new, maybe something complex,
Yeah.
and you get stuck on one part and just keep replaying your confusion in your head, that feeling of being totally overwhelmed.
Yeah.
That's resistance to the learning process itself. You're focusing on what you don't get instead of just being open to the discovery.
Exactly. So let's take this idea of resistance now and connect it to the law of attraction and this concept of flow. Hicks uses that powerful analogy, the one about going downstream versus paddling upstream. Can you unpack that image a bit?
Absolutely. Okay, so picture a river flowing, effortlessly towards the ocean. That ocean, let's say, represents your desires, your goals, whatever it is you want. When you are in alignment with what you want, when your thoughts and feelings are kind of vibing with it, in harmony, it's like you're in a boat just cruising downstream. The current, the natural energy of the universe, it's supporting your movement. It feels easy.
Right. But when you're experiencing resistance, those doubts, those fears we were talking about, it's like you've turned that boat around and you're trying to paddle upstream against that really strong current.
Ugh, exhausting just thinking about it.
Totally. You're putting in a huge amount of effort, but you're not making much progress, and you're probably going to end up feeling burnt out and super frustrated. And like Hicks says, you never get to where you want to be by pushing against where you are. All that struggle just, well, it creates more struggle.
Okay, so when we talk about going with the flow,
Yeah.
it might sound like we're suggesting being passive,
Yeah.
just sit back and wait for things to magically appear. But that's not quite the nuance here, is it?
Not at all. That's a common misunderstanding. Going with the flow in this context isn't about inaction, it's about inspired action.
Inspired action.
Okay. Yeah, these are the actions you feel naturally drawn to take. The ones that feel light, maybe exciting, even joyful. When you're in this state of flow, this alignment, you're way more open to synchronicities too, those sort of coincidences that aren't really coincidences.
Right, those things that just seem to fall into place.
Exactly. They pave the way. And you also get much greater clarity about the next steps. It's actually a very active process, but it's fueled by alignment, not by force or struggle.
That distinction feels really crucial. It's not about not doing stuff. It's about doing the right stuff. The actions that just feel right, that resonate with your inner guidance system. Think about it with learning again. When you're genuinely engaged, maybe you're enjoying the process, the information just seems to click, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
That's flow in action. And it's way more effective than trying to cram information in when you're feeling resistant and stressed out.
Absolutely. Now, let's maybe touch on why this whole idea of the path of least resistance can be a bit tricky, because in everyday conversation, it often has a pretty negative vibe, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
What do people usually think when they hear that phrase?
Well, the common understanding is often, taking the easy way out, avoiding challenges, maybe being a bit lazy or unmotivated, like we said earlier.
Right.
It's definitely not usually framed as a recipe for success or, high achievement.
And our culture really doubles down on the opposite, doesn't it? The whole no pain, no gain thing, the glorification of hustle culture.
Constantly, we're told you have to push yourself to the brink, that anything worthwhile requires immense struggle.
Which creates this apparent conflict, doesn't it? Because, let's be real, there are absolutely times when facing resistance, in the traditional sense, feels necessary, even morally right.
For sure, like standing up for justice or making a really difficult but important life change. In those moments, you are actively resisting something external.
That's a vital point. And the key here, I think, is to differentiate between that external resistance and the internal energetic resistance we've been discussing.
Okay, how so?
Well, even when you're taking a stand against something in the outside world, you can still aim to do it from a place of inner alignment, driven by your values, by a sense of purpose, rather than purely from anger, fear, or resentment.
Ah, I see. So the motivation behind the action matters energetically.
Exactly. That aligned action, even if it looks like a huge struggle to an outsider, can still be your path of least resistance energetically because it resonates deeply with your core truth, with your inner yes.
Okay. So how do we bridge this gap between the societal view of least resistance as lazy and this energetic idea where it can actually be incredibly powerful? How can something that looks difficult on the outside actually be the easier path energetically?
This is where aligned action really shines. Think about it. Aligned action might seem incredibly bold, even risky, from the outside looking in.
Okay, give me an example.
Imagine someone leaving a secure, high-paying job that's just crushing their soul, right? To pursue their artistic passion, something they've always dreamed of.
Okay, yeah, risky.
To their friends, their family, it might look like a huge, terrifying leap of faith, a really difficult, uncertain path. But energetically, for that person, quitting could absolutely be the path of least resistance because staying in that wrong job created so much internal friction, so much misalignment, that it was far more draining than the potential external challenges of pursuing their art.
That makes sense. The daily grind of misalignment was the harder path.
Exactly. Or another example, setting healthy boundaries, saying no to requests that drain your energy, even if it feels uncomfortable at first. That initial discomfort might seem like resistance, but ultimately it protects your energy and aligns with your well-being, making it the path of least internal resistance long-term.
Or someone finally speaking their truth in a relationship, maybe, even if they know it might lead to a difficult conversation.
Perfect example. The internal resistance of holding back, of not being authentic, was likely creating more pain than the potential external conflict of speaking up.
So the key insight here is that the path of least resistance, in this energetic sense, isn't necessarily about dodging effort. It's about aligning your efforts with your inner being, with your intuition.
Yes. It's about taking action that feels congruent, that feels like a yes deep down, even if that action looks challenging from the outside. It's about letting that inner resonance guide you.
Okay, this idea of flow we've touched on feels super connected to this. Can you tell us a bit more about the scientific understanding of flow state?
Absolutely. The psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, hope I said that right, he really brought the concept of flow state into the mainstream.
Right, I've heard the name.
He described it as that feeling of being completely absorbed in an activity, where you lose track of time and your skills and the challenge at hand are perfectly balanced. That feeling of being totally in the zone.
Yeah, I know that feeling. When everything just clicks.
Exactly. And what are some of the key conditions that tend to create this flow state, according to his research?
Well, a big one is that sweet spot we mentioned, the balance between the level of challenge and your skill level. If the challenge is too low, you get bored, right?
You just engage.
If it's too high, you get overwhelmed, anxious. Flow happens right in that Goldilocks zone.
Makes sense.
You also generally need clear goals, so you know what you're aiming for, and immediate feedback, so you can adjust as you go and stay engaged.
And interestingly, research looking at the brain during flow states has found some fascinating things, like increased activity in areas linked to focus and pleasure.
Okay.
And, get this, a temporary quieting of the prefrontal cortex, the part involved in self-monitoring and self-criticism.
Wow, so your inner critic actually takes a little break.
Seems like it.
Yeah.
Which probably contributes to that feeling of effortless action.
And the benefits are pretty compelling too, right? People in flow often report increased productivity, enhanced creativity.
Yeah, a deeper sense of enjoyment just in the activity itself, and even greater emotional resilience over time. It's a really positive state to be in.
What's really striking is how this scientific view on flow seems to echo some of the ideas around energetic alignment we were just talking about. Like Abraham Hicks talks about your emotions being an internal guidance system. How does that connect here?
It's a beautiful parallel, isn't it? Hicks suggests that positive emotions, feeling good, excited, engaged, are an indicator that you're in alignment with your desires, that you're on the right track downstream.
Okay.
While negative emotions, frustration, anxiety, boredom, signal that you're off track, experiencing resistance, paddling upstream.
So think about the challenge skill balance and flow. When you're engaged and feeling that sense of mastery, that competence, that's a positive emotion, right? You're in that optimal zone.
Exactly. And if you're feeling frustrated or anxious, negative emotions, it's a sign the challenge might be too high or maybe too low, pushing you out of that flow state, signaling misalignment.
And the idea of inspired action fits perfectly with the effortless productivity often seen in flow. When you're genuinely enjoying what you're doing, the motivation comes from within intrinsic motivation.
Right. The work feels less like a chore and more like, I don't know, an exploration or play. It's that internal joy fueling the action, which is totally in line with moving along the path of least resistance energetically.
So whether we're looking at it through the lens of energy and alignment, or through the scientific lens of flow, the message seems consistent. When we're engaged, feeling good, and acting from that place of inner resonance, we're not only more effective, but we're also experiencing more ease and enjoyment in the process. It's a win-win.
Exactly. So the big question then is, how can you, our listener, actually start to cultivate more of this flow and alignment in your own life? Make it practical.
Yeah, great question. Well, there's some really concrete steps you can take. Setting clear, specific goals for whatever task you're doing can really help you focus.
Okay.
Also, maybe breaking down bigger projects into smaller, more manageable steps. That way, you get that sense of progress and accomplishment along the way, which feels good and keeps you motivated.
And consciously paying attention to that balance between challenge and skill we talked about. Don't be afraid to push yourself a little, stretch your abilities, but also don't set yourself up for failure by taking on things that are just way too overwhelming right now.
Good point. Gradually increase the difficulty as your skills grow. And minimizing distractions is huge for getting into flow.
Oh, yeah. The phone.
Totally.
Yeah.
Create a dedicated workspace if you can. Turn off notifications, whatever you need to do to minimize those interruptions and allow yourself to really immerse in what you're doing.
Some people find it really helpful to create little rituals before they start a focused task. Could be anything simple, like listening to a specific song, making a cup of tea, just something to signal to your brain, okay, it's focus time now.
I like that. And of course, things like practicing mindfulness or relaxation techniques can really help quiet that mental chatter and improve your overall ability to focus. Even just a few minutes of deep breathing can make a surprising difference.
Definitely. And fundamentally, try to choose activities where possible that you genuinely enjoy. That intrinsic motivation is such a powerful driver of flow. It makes everything easier.
Also, paying attention to your own energy levels. When do you feel most alert and focused during the day? Try scheduling your more demanding tasks for those peak performance times if your schedule allows.
Smart. And actively seeking feedback on your progress can be useful too. It helps you adjust, stay engaged, and maintain that challenge skill balance.
Ultimately, though, it really comes back to that conscious choice, doesn't it? Choosing thoughts that feel better. As you become more aware of your internal state and intentionally shift your focus towards more positive aligned thoughts, you naturally start moving along that path of least resistance and experiencing more flow.
Well said. And to help everyone get a more direct, felt sense of this, we thought we'd guide you through a short meditation now, just to help release some resistance and connect with that feeling of flow. How does that sound?
Perfect. Okay, everyone, just find a comfortable position wherever you are. You can be sitting, lying down, whatever feels best for you right now. Just allow yourself to settle in for a few moments.
Go ahead and gently close your eyes or just lower your gaze if that feels more comfortable. Let's take a nice deep breath in through the nose and exhale slowly through the mouth, letting go of any tension you might be holding on to.
Let's do that again. Breathe in deeply. really filling your lungs. And as you exhale completely, just release any lingering thoughts or worries from your day. Let them drift away.
Now begin to imagine yourself standing beside a calm and gentle stream or river. The water is crystal clear, sparkling, very inviting. You can hear the soft sounds of it flowing steadily by, just a constant, easy movement forward.
Notice how the water moves. See how it doesn't struggle against the rocks or the bends in the riverbed? It simply flows around them, always finding the path of least resistance, yet always, always moving towards its destination.
Take another deep breath in, and as you exhale this time, imagine any resistance you've been carrying lately, any feelings of doubt, worry, frustration, or struggle, just beginning to loosen its grip on you. Visualize it, perhaps, as a heavy weight you've been holding.
Now, gently, in your mind's eye, imagine placing that heavy weight down by the side of the stream. You don't need to carry it with you right now. You can simply set it down and leave it there. Feel it releasing. And as you let it go, notice a sense of lightness perhaps spreading through your body, through your shoulders, your back.
Now imagine stepping into the stream. Feel the cool, gentle water flowing around your ankles, maybe up to your knees. Notice how easily you feel supported, maybe even carried by the gentle current. There's no need to fight, no need to push or strive. Simply allow yourself to be supported by this flow. Trust it.
As you imagine floating gently downstream, maybe repeat these affirmations silently to yourself, or even whisper them aloud if you feel comfortable. I release resistance. Feel the letting go. I trust the natural flow of life. Feel the trust. I am open to ease and clarity. Feel the openness. I am guided and supported. Feel that support.
Just take a few moments here, breathing easily, feeling that sense of being carried, of being supported by the current, knowing deep down that you don't have to force things to happen. By aligning with your inner guidance and trusting this natural flow, you can move forward with so much more ease and joy.
Take one more deep, peaceful breath in, really feeling that sense of peace and flow washing over you, filling you up. And as you exhale, carry that feeling with you. Know that this state of ease and flow is always available to you, just a breath away.
When you feel ready, gently begin to bring your awareness back to the room around you. Maybe wiggle your fingers and toes slightly, and whenever you feel fully present, gently open your eyes.
Nice. So as we wrap up our deep dive today into the path of least resistance, we really hope you're taking away this different perspective, that it's not about laziness or avoiding effort, but really about aligning your efforts with your inner wisdom, your intuition, and that natural flow of the universe.
Yeah. And maybe we can encourage you to reflect just gently on one area in your life where you might be feeling that push and pull, that sense of struggle or paddling upstream.
Good idea.
Just ask yourself, what would it feel like, even just as an experiment, to approach it with a little more trust, a little more willingness to go with the flow instead of against it.
Maybe take some time this week just to notice those moments when you do feel that sense of ease and engagement, those little moments of flow. What were you doing? What were you thinking or feeling? Just getting curious about it.
And perhaps explore further how these principles of alignment, flow state, maybe even the law of attraction resonate with your own life experiences.
Absolutely. Remember, the universe is inherently supportive. Ease and clarity are actually your natural state. You are designed to be carried by alignment, not bogged down by struggle.
Beautifully put. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
Yeah, thanks everyone. We'll catch you next time on Vibrations and Manifestations.
Hi, it's Shelley, and that brings us to the end of today's episode. We've explored what it really means to follow the path of least resistance, not as avoidance or laziness, but as alignment, as the practice of tuning into what feels light, clear, and true, instead of forcing ourselves to paddle upstream just because we think we should. Here's something I want to leave you with. If there's something you've been trying to do, some task, decision, conversation, or change, and it feels heavy, frustrating, or just plain wrong right now, it might not be the right next step for you at this moment, not because you're failing or avoiding, but because your inner guidance knows there's an easier way. Progress doesn't have to mean pushing. Sometimes The most powerful move forward is choosing a different action, one that feels just a little bit better, a little more natural, a little more you. So the invitation this week is simple. Instead of asking, "What should I do next?" try asking, "What would feel better and still move me forward?" Let your path unfold with grace. Let flow lead the way. And trust. You're not giving up by letting go. You're just getting into alignment. Thanks for listening to Vibrations and Manifestations. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who might need a little encouragement to soften, flow, and trust their own path. Until next time, stay grounded, stay glowing, and follow what feels good.